You've reached the practicing Christian. And now, all about promises unfulfilled. Most of us have a rather enlarged image of ourselves tucked away in a special part of our mind. It's not really a false image, just a bit overblown. Let's say that a friend is interested in a given church and says to you, "Hey, you know a lot about churches. I've gone to Grace Church a couple of times, and I might want to plant myself there. Could you come with me for the next few Sundays and give me your impressions of them?" Kind of an evaluation. I'm not sure if they've got what I'm looking for or what they can deliver. If you say, "Yes, I'd be happy to do that with you," one thing that you can make a mental note of is to bring up with him that part of his discovery process isn't just what they can deliver, but what he can deliver to and with them. You could, when you talk with him later, ask if he feels that he might have something to deliver and that it'd be welcome. Don't plan for and don't promise more than you can deliver. Promises unfulfilled haunt us all. Sometimes they are our promises, sometimes promises another's made to us. This is the sort of second cousin to hypocrisy. It's not that we and others are lying about who we are or who they are. We're simply overestimating what we think we can, or they can, deliver on. Let's say that your church asked you to serve on its Christian Education Committee. You like the idea, and after a little conversation about what's involved, you say, "Sure, I'd be happy to do that." And next week it finally dawns on you that the committee always meets on your family home evening night at 7 p.m. Never say yes or even no to a request without some time in prayer over it, even if it seems so simple and easy. And promises made to your family can be more important than any others. One thing that always annoyed my wife: on my bookcase shelves, in my desk drawers, and on my tables and shelves, I always had some space with nothing on it. Catherine would ask, or maybe she wouldn't, if she could leave her whatever it was there for a little while. I'd always answer, "No, honey," and I'd explain that it was important for me to have some extra space for files, books, gadgets, and so forth that I needed time to deal with and put in their proper place. If I don't have that empty space, I'll put my stuff down on something else and then forget what's under that. And I'll likely do it again and again until I have a pile, including uncashed checks and bills that need paying. I also learned to do this with my time. Every day I make sure I have at least a half hour with nothing planned or scheduled in it. And I never tell anyone else when it is. Too many people out there can say, "Oh, well, if you're not doing anything," yeah. Always have some time open and physical space in your life, your schedule, at least minutes or hours, even days if you can do that. Otherwise, you'll always be overbooked and feel that many things and people in your life are burdens and annoyances. Jesus had an impossibly short time in which to complete an impossibly difficult mission, but he still had time to go into a wilderness or somewhere else apart from the men he was working with, to pray, to look at how the work of the Father was going and what he was doing, to assess himself, and so on. Now, if he needed such time apart, how much more do we need this? Many of us are pressured into saying yes to a request on the basis that no one else has the chops to do this like you, buddy. Pride is being fed here. You'll recognize this because it may be the same approach you use to talk somebody else into doing something. The pride of the mind often tells us that we do have something to offer that no one else can match. And if we allow ourselves to be played that way by kids, by churches, women, bosses, whatever, we'll be in a load of trouble month after month. In Jesus' case, it would have been true. He could do what no other man could do. In our cases, if we died 10 years ago, the world would still turn. Babies be born, people die, songs written, all of it without us. We are so very fortunate to be here and working and living with others. But it's a gift to us, not a burden. We often need ease up on ourselves and not think too much of ourselves. Jesus understood this and how easy it is to get caught up in stuff as well as poorly thought out promises to do certain things. He warned about people piling up prayers. Quote, "Don't be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him," from Matthew 6:8. And in verse 13, he advises us to pray, "And don't bring us to the time of trial or temptation, but rescue us from evil, the evil one." Close quote. Who can say if the temptation to try to promise all things to all people may come from a desperate temptation to be loved or needed by all people? In Luke 12:20, Jesus tells a parable where a man is warned, "You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you." Close quote. He follows this by stories of people with a poor focus on what's important and who allow themselves to get into trouble by making promises unfulfilled. Look at verses 22 to 40 in Luke 12. In 1 Corinthians 10:13, first half of that verse, we're reminded that we're not alone in this. Quote, "No testing has overtaken you that isn't common to everyone." Close quote. Remember, God will help you with this problem. Quote, "If any of you is lacking in wisdom, ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given to you." That's from James 1:5. That's better than just saying yes to every request. And Lord willing and the creek don't rise, or its shorter equivalent, God willing. Asking God for help is better than just leaving the impression that you're putting the blame on God for any promises unfulfilled. Be bold. Stepping out of your comfort zone to help someone, to do some godly chore, to reach for a new level of competence, these are good things when you can complete your promise. You were created for such things as this. If you stumble on the way, that's not at all a promise unfulfilled, unlike situations where you may overpromise. Now, here's the second half of that verse from 1 Corinthians that we used at the start of the last paragraph. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tested beyond your strength. But with the testing, he will also provide the way out so that you may be able to endure it. Serve then, be the king's right arm. You've reached the Practicing Christian, and now all about promises unfulfilled. Most of us